Good morning. It is 27th of April 2018. About 10 to 8 in the morning. Right. This is going to be a bit of a long one. It's going to be a few laughs, a few information. And what it was is an interaction I had on YouTube from a video I watched. So I think first thing I need to do is set up the video, explain what it was. It was a TV program, one of these where people go to court and judge, like Judge Judy. And what it was this guy who had friends that were bakers, that were interracial couple. I think it was down in Mississippi. It must be in Mississippi because of the law that I'll come on to in a second. And he asked for a cake to be made. He rang up on the Friday, asked for a cake to be made, and he went in on the Monday to give the details of this cake. And all because it was a marriage cake and he's gay, they refused. So he took him to court. I think part of it was felt very slighted since they were supposed to be his friends. To his friends, they must have known he was gay. The results of the case was he found in favour of the bakers because something called the Mississippi law about giving the rights for religious people to forego services to the gay community if they disagree with it. One of the things this gay bloke brought up was the fact that biracial couple, things have changed, our understandings have changed, and what he brought up was basically slavery. And the judge slammed him down, said no, that's a bit dishonest because slavery was this abhorrent thing and blah 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 blah. Anyway, a bloke made a comment, and I'm going to change the names, I'm calling him Mr. X. Made a comment saying, I wonder how they would feel if the straight couple went to a gay baker and they refused. So I decided to answer on this. Now, let's get one thing straight first off. I've said it before, it's a cake. Somebody doesn't want to bake you a cake, go somewhere. I know there's a lot of people out there who will say, well, that's not the point, it's discrimination, etc. Do you really want to force somebody to bake you a cake that doesn't want to bake you a cake? Can you imagine what it would taste like? That's my personal opinions. I know other people agree with me, other people disagree with me. It's all down to the individual. So what I've done is, on a Word document, I've done all the comments and replies. So you can see it as I'm reading it. Also, I've got the internet open because of a couple of other things that I want to react to. So I think best thing to do is first off turn round to the computer so you can see the first reply I gave. So there's the computer. I'll have to think. So like he says, he brought up this thing about what happens if a cake was refused to a straight couple. Now, like I says, I know this happened. I think it was a social experiment. I don't think it actually went to court. So I put, this has happened the other way around, Mr. X. As you say, Mr. X. A gay baker did refuse to bake a cake. I think message was something like Christians against gay marriage. The thing about any sort of discrimination or bigotry is that we can all be guilty of it if the ideas do not fall in line with our personal beliefs. And that is true. That is true Christians as well. We can be discrimination, bigotry. Let me scroll down a bit. The Bible can be used as a hammer when in fact it should be used as a glove. As a gay man, in brackets, and by the way, Christian, I have heard all the usual rhetoric by people, and you know, when you do the research, there's not much there that actually condemns gay people. I've done a video about this before, Gay the Bible. What I'm going to do is upload a different video, because the bloke's a better speaker than me, and he is more a theologian than me. But there's basically just one or two verses in the Bible. It's about time when people use the Bible, they start to look at the social political landscape of the area in the context of history, as to why some of the Levitical laws were made and that they have no relevance today as slavery does. Reason for bringing this up is that the judge in some respects is wrong, for there is more in the Bible about slave ownership than homosexuality, which there is. You take Abraham, his wife gave him a servant girl so he could produce a son. And he was given a great nation. So that's what I put. Pure and simple. Comment. So I expected Mr. X to reply. Something like, oh, I didn't know that about that baker. Yes, and stuff like this. What I got was a different reply from a different person. Well, that says I've colour-coded them so you can actually see. Oops, press the wrong button. Sorry about that. Now, first off, look at that opening line. You are a disgrace to the human race, plain and simple. What? At that point, I went, what the hell is this person on about? At that time, I didn't know it was a woman. You claim that you're a Christian. ... Now, I'm going to come on to all these dots. Very later on, I'll explain. FYI, there is no such thing as a gay Christian. Well, I would dispute that. Being gay and Christian does not work that way with God, and you know that too. Well, actually, I don't, because I'm not in direct communication with God. God doesn't speak to me like it does with the prophets and stuff. As your further FYI, the Bible does mention about homosexuality. What part of Leviticus 18:22 don't you understand? Question mark, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation mark. Let's take that bit for a start off. Leviticus 18:22. Yes, I know it. But that bit, so she's asking a question. The exclamation mark is like an emphasis on the question, a clarification. Then she's questioning the emphasis. Then she's emphasising the question of the emphasis of the question. In brackets, that was a rhetorical question, just in case you did not know that. Well, okay then. Now, you won't believe how many times I have heard the next argument. What next? A Christian rapist and or murderer? Right, I will answer this quite plainly. I have heard this plenty of times. Christian rapist, Christian murderer, Christian paedophile, blah, 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 blah. Let's get one thing straight. Rapist, murderer, paedophile, burglar, whatever, is against the law. The law of the land. Criminal law. Being gay is not illegal. So that is dishonest to use that as an argument. Then she goes on, the two just doesn't mix. Because God obviously does not approve of neither gays nor murder. Right, first thing here. She has proposed an argument. The argument there is a Christian rapist or murderer. She then says God doesn't approve of gays nor murder. So does God approve of rapists? If you're going to use an argument, clarify the argument. Carry on the argument. She should have put, God does not approve of neither gays, rapists, nor murderers. Or murder. I mean, come on, this is simple logic, this is. The video, A Gay Marriage, A State of Disgrace by Doug Batchelor says it all. Watch it or not, that is totally up to you. I really don't care. Oh, where do I start with this video? I watched it. I thought it was a comedy sketch. I'll be honest. I watched about 35 to 40 minutes. I had to switch it off because my sides were hurting that much. It was hilarious. In the UK, we had a comedian called Dave Allen. It was called God's Own Comedian. Did a lot about religion and stuff like that. I'll put a clip to his Adam and Eve monologue, because it is quite relevant to this video. This bloke, first off, partly argues for creationism versus evolutionism. Even the Jewish Christians, great theologians, actually admit that evolution is correct, creationism is wrong. There's a great film done, and it's based on a real case called Inherit the Wind, about the monkey trials. If you haven't seen it, watch it, it's brilliant. Who starred in it? Spencer Tracy. Brilliant film. Gene Kelly as well. In the video, he's supposed to be talking about gay marriage. He spends more time talking about his marriage than anything else. Even to the stage where he brings his wife and kids onto stage. His wife had that embarrassed smile on her face. The kids looked totally fed up. I expected them turning around and saying, "Dad, we don't want to be here. Can we go home and play with this Xbox and PlayStation?" But it was that cringe-worthy view. And then it goes on remember, he's supposed to be talking about homosexuality. He's talking about his family going on a river rafting trip down a river, and they found this egg that hatches into this little duckling. It follows them around going quack, 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 and they had to get on the... At that point, I just turned off because, like I says, I was in serious dire straits of having a heart attack because I was laughing that hard. I thought it was a comedy sketch. So she then comes on, "At least I did my duty to warn you. Although I know for the fact that even my warning..." And then she pluralises it. I don't know why she pluralises it. She hasn't given me more than one warning. She's talking about me being gay. Won't do any good. Una. Can anybody explain to me what una means? I've looked on dictionaries. Can't find it. Disgraceful people will still ignore it. Again, that is fine by me. Good luck. You'll be needing it. So, I was a bit perplexed by this. So I thought, I'm going to reply to the woman. I thought, I'm not going to bring up about the gay marriage state of disgrace by saying it's a comedy. I thought, she's brought up Leviticus. That's the way to go. Levitical law. Levitical law. So I answered. I started off with, bad woman, MSA. Miss A. Presume you are female since no face picture. Now, her username is, I'm not going to give her username, it isn't like Miss Jane Doe. It's Miss I like watching TV. You know, that type of thing. No face picture, just a picture of a dog laid on a mat. Naughty, naughty, naughty. Do you know how intellectually dishonest it is to use Levitical law as the basis of your arguments? Suggest you read all the Levitical laws, all 613 of them, and see how many you break on a daily basis. By the way, most carry a straight passage to hell. Do not pass go. Do not collect £200. Sorry, I'm moving the camera. Some may even mean that you would have to, under the law, some may even mean that you would, under the law, need to stone some of your relatives to death. Scroll down a bit further. Oh, keep hitting that button. Go away. Probably be better if it went like that. Also suggest you be very careful as a Christian using the Levitical laws, for quite a few are in direct conflict with Christian doctrine. Even portrays Christ as a blasphemer and heretic. Right, let's talk about that. First off, let's look at the Levitical laws. It's that one there. All 613 of them. I'm going to put this as a link. But there you are, there you are, there you are. Loads of them. Ritual purity, offering, sabbatical year, clean animals for consumption, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I'm saying 613 laws. When I say Levitical law is in direct conflict of Christian doctrine, right, let's take the easy one. The most well known, circumcision. Levitical law says at the age of 7, you have to take your child to the synagogue, if it's male child, to be circumcised. Peter and Paul fell out about this. Peter wanted to keep it the same. Paul says no. Culturally, to other countries and stuff like that, we want to build up his own religion. And eventually Paul won. As Christians, do not get circumcised. Levitical law says if you don't get circumcised, you are not in the communion of God. So that's what I'm saying about Christian doctrine. Portrays Christ as blasphemer and heretic. He was condemned a few times for healing the sick on the Sabbath. You do not work on the Sabbath. Picking ears of corn off, that's classed as work, etc. If you're using the Levitical laws on the basis of your argument, then you must be seen to be following all 613 of them. In other words, you cannot say, I believe in that one and this one, but do not agree with that one for it's in direct conflict with my belief. Right. I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll explain more about this. When it comes to gay sex, gay people, everybody knows Leviticus 18:22. You say to these same people, well, what about Leviticus 18:1? 99% of them won't be able to tell you what it says. So that's the first thing. I have never ever seen anybody yet say to somebody, you're a sinner. You despicable human being. You're eating a bacon sandwich. Under Levitical law, pigs are unclean animals. You're a sinner. You are going to hell. You are going to burn eternally. Never heard any of these people that quote Leviticus 18:22 or anybody ever say that. Never heard anybody say, you're eating mussels in garlic and white wine. You cannot eat shellfish. You are despicable. You are unclean. Never heard anybody say that. That shirt you're wearing. Is it all it's cotton and polyester? You disgusting human being. You are only supposed to wear clothes made of one type of cloth. It is a sin and you will burn. Never heard anybody say anything like that. This is where we start getting to the intellectual dishonesty. You want to criticise gay people for 1822, that's fair enough. But then you have to start criticising people for eating pork. You have to start criticising people for eating Christian doctrine. She says a bit later on, she says her son, has she got him circumcised? If not, why not? Levitical law says you have to have your son circumcised. If you're going to use something as a basis of your argument, then you must be seen to following it through to the extremes. There is a guy, and I've got to get it up, I'll see if I can find it while I'm talking, that did actually try to live the year of life to biblical laws. It's called The Year of Living Biblically, and it's by a gentleman called A.J. Jacobs. I think the first 8 months he tried to live by the Levitical law, the last 4 months by New Testament law. That sounds a bit, he had a nightmare. Simple things. When his wife was having a period, menstruation cycle. Under Levitical law, you're not allowed to sit where they sit because they are classed as being unclean. Think about that. Now, I don't know what your house is like. My house only has one toilet. Let's say a woman's on a cycle for 2 weeks. She sits on the toilet and uses the toilet. So, as a man, where do you go to do your business? 5 days a week while you're at work, fine. You hold it in until you get to work. But what about the 2 days that you're off? These are the sort of things when you start talking about Levitical law. And so we'll get back to it, but that's the book there. I'm actually thinking about buying it. But we'll get back to it. Where was I? I don't believe. Does not agree, direct conflict with my belief. Now we can talk about Bible translations and how many different translations of the Bibles there are. I even go back to the original Greek and Hebrew. But somehow I don't think you would But I don't think you would even listen to it, for it would be in direct conflict with your personal beliefs. I'm sorry, I haven't scrolled down enough, so you can't see that part. Personal beliefs. I says, look at this other video that I'm going to upload, put in the descriptions, Gay in the Bible. Also, last point, and it's a bit of advice here. Christ himself said, how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, while there is still a beam in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the beam out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. In other words, do not judge, or you will be judged. For with the same judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the same measure you use, it will be measured to you. Go with God. In other words, she's saying, despicable human being, blah, 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 blah. You will not go to heaven, blah, blah, blah. By making judgments like that, she's also condemned herself. And these are the words of Christ. So I didn't know what I would expect here. What sort of reply I'll get. So let's look at the reply. The last time I checked, the initials MS refers to female, since you did not know that. Well, actually, she's put a capital M there and a small s. She didn't in her original name. It's a small m and s. I didn't know if it was Miss, as referring to a female, or the abbreviation for something else. MS, multiple sclerosis, millisecond. There's plenty of abbreviations. For your FYI, I'm neither bad nor naughty. She's misunderstood what I'm on about there. I'm referring to her argument that's bad and naughty. So don't you dare classify me as a trifling and wootless woman in America. I've never ever heard of the term wootless. Witless, yeah. So I decided to look it up. Urban Dictionary. And it means good for nothing, worthless, troublemaker, doesn't care about getting in trouble. Well, she seems to be causing trouble with me and getting in trouble, so probably wootless is the correct term. Well, I don't dress in clothes that reveal my body, and I certainly don't sleep around. Whoa! Whoa! Hang on a minute here. Let me go back up to my original post, this post here. I want to go through very slowly. You tell me where there I even suggest that she dresses provocatively and she sleeps around. I've read this about 20 or 30 times and I can't find it. At this point I thought, this woman is delusional. She's reading into stuff that isn't actually there. But she goes on. With this said, moving on. It is sad, it is beyond sad and pathetic that disgraceful people like you would overlook the verse, in bracket S, in the Bible that states, man shall not lie with a man as with a woman. First off, why pluralise it? It's one verse. Probably she's seeing double. Probably she's reading two Bibles. So, just so you can continue to practice your distasteful lifestyle. It's not a lifestyle. It's not a lifestyle. If it was a lifestyle, I wouldn't be homosexual. Being homosexual is not easy. So, let's get one thing straight. And even psychologists and doctors actually say it's not a lifestyle. Oh, and that was a great thing about this, the video. This preacher, Doug whatever, is actually crying down the medical authorities and medical practitioners and eminent medical people by saying they're just nobody but enabling the gay lifestyle because they're gay themselves, basically. The Bible never actually mentions the word sexuality. True. In none of the scriptures stroke S. Well, she could have left that as plural. But we know what it means when it says, man shall not lie with a man, for it's an abomination. Oh dear, oh dear. Greek, look at the video. If you believe for one moment that you will enter into heaven, living the lifestyle that you live now, you better think again. So she is now directly saying that I am not going to enter heaven. She's making a judgment. She's making whatever against me. Remember back to where I said, if you judge what measures you put against somebody, it will be. So she's just now basically condemned herself to hell, if she believes what Christ says. Before you make any smart remarks about me believing that I'm going to heaven, I'm trying to make it there. Obviously you're not. Well, obviously she's not either, because she's broken one of Christ's commandments. We're not talking Levitical law here. We're talking about what Jesus himself actually said. For your further FYI, I have never claimed that I obeyed all of the commandments either. Well, then don't use them as your argument, basis for your arguments. That is intellectually dishonest. But unlike you and the rest of the trolls that are making excuses for sin, I don't use any of the scriptures to justify my sins. Well, for start off, let's get one straight here. I have just quoted 2 verses, and basically those verses is about judging other people. I mean, we could actually go on and say, since she's been very judgmental towards me, Christ himself said, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. Obviously, she's a righteous person. But unlike you and the rest of the trolls about the scripture, I don't use the scriptures to justify make excuses for sin. In fact, one sin that I ask God to forgive me for, I've never learned to forgive myself for doing so. Oh, come on, give us some juicy bits of information, will you? I guess you never bothered to watch the video, Gay Marriage, a State of Disgrace by Doug Batch. Like I said, I watched it and I thought it was a comedy sketch. Not that I care. Right. Christian. Love your neighbour, love your kids. This tells you the type of Christian she is. If you were my son and you confessed to me that you were gay, I would have disowned you and cut you out of my will. I tell you now, if I knew who this woman was and where she lived, I would call family services. What we call in here, social security and stuff like that. Because if this is her attitude, I would be very concerned by the mental, physical and spiritual welfare of her children. I'm sorry, but I am. I'm done. You've already lost my respect for you ever since you boldly and proudly admitted to being a disgrace to the human race. No, I haven't admitted to being a disgrace to the human race. I said I'm gay. This again is another judgment call by her. And that is another thing. Notice just how proud LGBTs are when they come out of the closet, as if being LGBT is something to celebrate. Shake my head in disgust. I think that's supposed to be an unhappy face. So basically she wants us to live in the closet, get married, make our partner's lives hell, just to justify her reasonings. Or go to gay conversion therapy, which causes long-lasting psychological damage. People that's gone through gay conversion have actually committed suicide and stuff through it. And also it's proven not to work medically. At this point I thought this woman's got some very serious psychological issues. So you'll see in a bit, I was talking to a friend on the internet from one of the websites I belong to. He had a look at it and went, whoa, 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 don't answer her, don't answer her. So I didn't answer her. What I had then was another lady contact me. Well, she left a comment. This lady I know was a lady because she had a picture as part of her profile. And all she said was, "Lol, is this conversation really taking place? Please remember that." Nothing defamation there, not accusing me of anything, not accusing the woman of anything, not slagging anybody off, etc. So I decided to reply. And I replied, "I'm trying to teach her something about Levitical law, theology and Bible history, but don't think I'm getting through to her. What I don't understand is why she's so angry and abusive to people. Not a very good advert for a Christian, and I feel I must give my apologies for that." Talking to this afternoon to a friend who is a doctor and showed him the comments on Skype, and he says definitely passive aggressive tendencies there with clear signs of insecurity and a paranoia. His advice was now to leave it and don't answer her anymore. Right. This is not my usual friend. This was on a website. We were talking about this, laughing about it. This bloke popped up and said, you know, what exactly she said, and I showed him. It turns out he's a doctor, deals with some psychological issues and stuff like that. Passive aggressive tendencies. The dots. The question marks, exclamation marks, question marks, exclamation marks, question marks. And all this, he says, is very passive aggressive. The tone of it. Insecurity, because as soon as I challenge her on biblical things, she comes very back and trying to divert it by accusing me of saying she dresses scantily, sleeps around and stuff like that. It's definitely insecurity. And paranoia by turning around and saying stuff like the same stuff over and over again, like it's reinforced it, and then turning around and saying it doesn't matter what scriptures you bring up, they will be wrong. So I answered this lady. This is Miss B. Did I get an answer from Miss B? No. I got an answer from Miss A. The correct word is apologise and not apologies. Pardon? Right, let me go back up. Give my apologies for that. I'm giving multiple apologies to anybody who has been offended. I'm a Christian. I'm giving my apologies to anybody who has been offended. Apologies. Apologies. Plural noun. Multiple. That is the correct spelling. Apologise. That spelling is American. In UK, it's I-S-E. I think I made it quite clear by saying do not pass go, do not collect £200, that I am British. So I wouldn't even spell it like that. So good for your trying to correct my grammar. As for you not replying to any of my comments any longer, good riddance. Now this is here. As for you, Miss B, feel free to return to under your bridge. Why should she return? She hasn't slagged me off. She hasn't slagged her off. She's just asked a simple question and she comes out with a comment like that. And she portrays herself as a Christian. BTW, I am not angry. I would never waste my time and energy being angry with someone who isn't worth it. Well, she is wasting her time. She's answered a post that I didn't even reply to her post. I replied to somebody else's. Have a nice life. Oh, it's fun. It's fun. So cheekily, I decided to email my good friend in America to let him know about this. So I started off with, get this woman a straitjacket and a paddy wagon and send her to your local loony bin. So the question, so then between there and there, I put all this interaction. So the question is, do I need to start sleeping with a knife under my pillow just in case she comes to the UK? Her attitude was the same with quite a few other commenters on the video, always calling them trolls, despicable people, waste of human flesh, etc. And she did. Multiple people leaving comments, she had the same attitude with them. Diagnosis, doctor, please. So what was his diagnosis? She sounds a real keeper. Sign me up for Bible seminar, for a Bible seminar for sure. I imagine she'd give me some good syntactical advice too on my tutorial papers. Charming. Still, one must find ways to pass one's time. Oh. So I said I could have carried on by winding her up, but too easy, and I could have. I could have wound her up quite easy, bringing out Levitical laws, bringing out biblical references and historical, etc. But it would have been too easy. So his answer came back. Those totally irrational folks basically can only be cured by intracranial acute lead therapy. Right. This sounds nasty, but anybody who watches my friend's videos knows he has the same sort of humour as I do. A bit off-centre humour, a bit out there in some respects. So, yeah, we are making comments like this, but we're not serious. Oh, click that again. Then I came back with, so that's no to Thorazine or Prozac. Electric shock treatment could be the answer. If not that, a lobotomy. And the answer was, nope, it's 40 grains of lead into the brain from a humane killer. Nothing else to be done. That's it for you, old girl. And at that point, we left it. So I'll close that. Turn this round. Turn this round. Move that down like that. Stuff. So what have I got to say about this? First off, the videos that she advised. A person who makes the first part of his thing about creationism versus evolutionism, I lose respect for straight away. A person who's given a sermon on a topic and spends very little time talking about that topic. Within the first 40 minutes, he spent about 25 minutes talking about his family and marriage, heterosexual marriage and stuff. I don't think he even touched on gay marriage for more than 4 minutes, 5 minutes. So I lose intellectual respect for that. Somebody who starts using Levitical laws and stuff like that. Yeah, it's there. It's a stumbling block. But the thing is, what you must remember is we are not Jewish, we're Christian. Christ himself says, I've come here to change the laws. I've come here to change the rules. I am the new covenant. Jesus himself was Jewish, but he disobeyed a lot of Jewish laws that should have got him stoned to death, to put it plainly. When you look at the social, political, the historical, it's there. Things have changed. You can use the Bible. I can use the Bible to say I can commit genocide. The Israelites did it. They wiped out complete cities. They wiped complete nations because God told them to. That happened today. They'd be tried as war criminals. You search through the Bible and I think you can find justification for a lot of stuff. I know you can. I know you can. Because I have read the Bible. I've read the Bible a few times. You can find justification. Taking one verse out of a Bible like that, you can justify anything. People bring up other quotes that basically I've laughed at because it's got nothing to do with gay sex. One of the things people bring up is the sin of onan, masturbation stuff. It's coitus interruptus. Yet people, fundamentalist Christians, still raise that as part of their arguments. People have said, you've seen the comments from my friend there, obviously she's got psychological problems. Friend I was talking to on Skype, showed him these. I don't know if you know Skype, but you can share screen, showing him all the comments. Went up and showed him comments from that she made to other people, and he said she's got very passive-aggressive tendencies. There's a lot of security and probably paranoia there. Concerns about family, sons and stuff like that. You know, turning around and disowning your child and cut him out, well, because he says I'm gay. That's verging on child abuse. And if she's like that with something like this, why else is she like with other things? It was... But I just sat there and watched. I thought, this woman's got serious issues. This woman's got very serious issues. And I says to have a go at that woman. All she did was ask a question. Are we seriously discussing this? Basically. And she's calling her, get under your bridge. What sort of rational person makes a comment like that? Somebody just asked a question. Oh, are we talking about this? Made no sort of comment to me or to her. Agree with me, disagree with her, or agree with her, disagree with me. She just asked a question. And she goes off on this woman. Poor woman, she's done nothing. Does this woman sound rational? So I think that's it. This is going to be a long video. It's going to be about 50 minutes long with all the interjections and stuff like this. But like I says, these are sort of things that as gay bloke we deal with daily. When we're being Christian, and I am Christian, and I do think she says I will not go to heaven, I will not go. Well, frankly, she's condemned herself to hell herself. Jesus says, you judge somebody, by what measure you judge them, so you shall be judged. Christ himself says, before you cast the first, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. She cast, there you saw plenty of stones. Some people say, I cast a few as well. Oh dear. Okie doke then. Upload this. I don't think I'll get many views at 50 minutes. Okie doke.